Hello, everyone, and welcome to another low-code live build. My name is Jan de Vries, and I'm your low-code host. And in today's session, we're going to take a look at building a ride-sharing app with native mobile. We'll build a map with cars and pointers. We'll build a feature where you can reserve a car. We'll take a look at signing documents, taking photos, and all of that combined will turn into an app that lets you book a car with a native mobile app built with Mendix. And the person who's going to do that with us and who's going to do the building is developer evangelist Ryan Maki. Ryan, welcome to the session.
Ian, thanks for having me here.
Always good to have you here. So let's take a look at, first of all, what the agenda is of the session. So first of all, I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're going to do during the live build. And then we'll take a look at what we'll be making exactly. We'll also show you a short demo, a 1-minute video that Ryan will explain of what's happening, what you're seeing on the screen, so that you can see the end result of the project and of the build. And of course, then we'll dive into the build itself, and we'll build out each feature one by one. Now, at the end, we'll do a little recap. We'll share some resources and some handy links that you can use to build your own native mobile apps with Mendix. And of course, at the end, we'll do the Q&A. So at any point during the live session, if you have any questions for Ryan or me about native mobile or anything that you've seen during the session, put them in the chat and we'll get to them at the end of the live build. So first of all, the live build is being streamed live right now, and it will be recorded and posted on mendix.com/live. You can also find the previous sessions there. So go ahead and scroll through that list to see if there's any topic that you're interested in. And of course, put your questions in the chat. And the most exciting thing, download the project files. If you go to this bit.ly link that you see here on the screen, you'll find 2 Mendix packages. One is the clean state of the project, so the starting point, and one is the completed build. So go ahead and download those, play around with it, discover what's inside those packages. So yeah, you can build your own ride-sharing app and customize it to your own liking. All right, let's get into it. Ryan, what are we making today?
Yeah, so today we are going to be making a native mobile app, which is built in Studio Pro 9.6.1. And this is, as you said, is going to be a ride-sharing application. So people can rent and lease cars, bikes, and vans for pretty much as long as they want. So users will be able to sign up for an account, log in. They'll be able to browse vehicles nearby on a map view. Once they select one, they can then reserve and rent that. And all of that information is bundled up together into a PDF, and the user can sign that on the device. As always, there's a bunch of other stuff that is in this project. So I encourage everyone to download the project files, take a look at them, play around like Jan says, and just experiment.
Excellent. Thanks for the introduction. Apologies for the screen flipping there. Let's take a look at the app demo itself.
Yeah. So here you can see the app login screen, which I called Voyage. There we've logged in. You can see the map view. I'll now select a marker. The selected vehicle appears in the bottom sheet. You can click the map to clear your selection. But if you do want to proceed with it, you can click Reserve. Then you can navigate to the vehicle using your native maps. In this case, it's an Android device, so it's using Google Maps. Once you're there, you can start the check-in process. And the check-in process is taking a photo of each side of the vehicle. In this case, I'm just photographing my desk. But you need 4 photos to continue, and then you can sign the agreement. Lovely X there as a signature. And then you can view the rental agreement on the device as well. It downloads it and opens it in your native document viewer. And finally, the app works in dark mode as well. So just a few screens of what it looks like in dark mode. And that is the whole application.
Excellent. So now that we know what to expect, it's time to start the live build. So I think we should start with the homepage and the overview of the cars. So let's switch over to that.
Yeah, sure. Let me just take over the screen share. Oh, it's Zoom has disabled it. Sorry.
Ah, yes. And now you have the power.
There you go. All right. I want this desktop. Yes. Okay, so here we have the November branch line. So this is the starting point in the project files. This is the branch of the project that is set up for this session. So on the navigation profile, we just have some basic things set up. We have just a administrator homepage where the admin can administer the app data. And then on the native mobile side, we have home and vehicles for the user. And also, obviously, their homepage is linked there. Now, we are using some marketplace modules for this. Most importantly, we're using the native file documents to view the file document PDF. And we're using file handling to convert the signature into an image. It's stored as a base64 string, but we'll get to that later. We also make use of some NanoFlow common stuff, but that's by default included in every project with native mobile. So let's jump in. I already have the homepage open. So this is the homepage for the native mobile app. This is what the user will see when he logs in. Now you can see on this page, we have the two maps, well, the one map that you saw in the video. In actuality, it's two separate maps. And the first is populated with a series of vehicles, all the vehicles that are available. And the second one is populated by a NanoFlow, which gets just the selected one. And that's how we switch between the two. In combination with just a bit of visibility, you'll see we have a visibility rule set up here. So these maps are mostly set up, oops, sorry. But we do need to populate the data source. So when you double click the map to open it up, you will see here we have some options for the markers. Now, the rest of the map is already configured. There's a lot of look and feel changes that you can play around with here. I, again, want to say download the project files and just have a look through all these different tabs, see what they all mean. But for this session, we're just going to worry about this marker list. Now, in this one, in this first map, we want all the vehicles to show. So for that, we're just going to use a regular database retrieve. So it's already set to database. We're going to choose vehicles, and we want all vehicles which are available. So we set available equals true. Now, once you've selected the entity, you have to connect the rest of the attributes. In this scenario, we're using latitude and longitude to calculate the location. So we need to pass those in. We need to tell it to use latitude from this entity and the longitude from this entity. Excuse me. We also want to have a bit of a description on the map itself. So you can add some call out boxes, which is like an information pop-up. And for that, we're just going to display the make and model of the vehicle. Finally, when someone clicks on the marker, we want to set that marker as selected. And the easiest way to do that is to use a NanoFlow. So here I'm going to call a NanoFlow, and you'll see I've divided the user folder in pages into chapters. The flow we're looking for is inside chapter 1, inside flows. And we're looking for ACT select vehicle, and you'll notice it has _map view on it. We'll go into that in a second, but I just want to select a custom icon for this instead of the regular drop pins that would just normally show. So I'm going to select an image that I've added into the project already. And this one is called drop pin red car. And you can increase the size of that to make it more easy to click. Okay, going into that NanoFlow, you'll see that all we do is set that association between the home page outer holder and the vehicle, as well as updating the Boolean. Now, going back, we have the first map which shows and they can select the car or the vehicle. The second map needs to populate only a single icon. So for this one, we're going to do sort of the same thing. We're just going to use a different data source. Now, I'm going to use a nanoflow to populate this one, just because it was the easiest way to do what I wanted. And that nanoflow is called dsGetSelectedVehicle. And you'll notice it's called _list. Now that is because in this scenario, it is expecting a marker list. I'll show you how I get that single one in a moment, but for now, let's just connect all of these attributes. So same as the first one, we want the latitude and longitude. So select those. We also want the same title, which is the make, and the description, which is the model of the vehicle. But this one doesn't get an on-click action, doesn't need it. But we do, however, need to give it the same icon. So we're just going to use the exact same one and make it bigger. And that should populate both maps with data. Now, when one is selected, it's going to flip this around. But we also want them to have the ability to clear the selection. So for that, I've just wrapped both the maps in a container. You'll see it's going around the maps only. And for this container, I can just add an on-click action. Now, we're going to use a nanoflow here on this container. And this flow is going to reverse what we did in the selection. We're just going to deselect it. If I go to it, you'll see we just set that same relationship to empty, and we set the Boolean that we set earlier to false. Now, the last part of this page is that we want this bottom sheet widget to appear only once we've selected a vehicle. And that's because we don't want that bottom sheet widget to be there all the time, especially if it doesn't have any data connected to it at that moment. So we want it to only show when it's populated and when it's useful. Now, the actual adding of this is really simple. You can just add a building block. It is the expanding one. I haven't really made any alterations to this bottom sheet widget after doing that, except I added some images and I just repurposed their labels. I've even kept the same original images that they use. So this is a really great widget. But out of the box, I think it looks great. There's not much to do here, but we do want to hide this conditionally. So we're going to just set the same visibility rule that we have on the maps on this one. So a vehicle selected true. We want this to pop up then, and we can see all the vehicle information. How's that for a start, Jan?
Yeah, I think this looks great. I think this is a great first step. So now people can see the cars and they can, when they select it, they can see a little menu. I think the next part would be making a reservation and navigating to the car, because when you look on the map, of course, you're not standing next to a car most of the time. Yep. So I'd love to see if you can build that in.
Yeah. Well, luckily, I've already got a reserve button here, so I think we can do it. All right. So on this reserve button, which you'll find in the bottom sheet below the images of the vehicle. So once this map is selected, you will only see this part. Once the user then drags the bottom sheet up, this reserve button will become visible. So here in this one, we have a nanoflow again, my favorite thing. And here we have some extra things to do. I'm assuming, Jan, you don't want just anyone to ride in your cars. You need people who have valid licenses, correct?
Exactly. Of course, we have to abide by the law. So we need to make sure that we have some sort of check where we can see that someone actually has a valid driver's license.
Yeah. So for that, we're just going to use plain old validation of the data. Now, we need to get the actual driver's license connected to the user. If I go to the domain model, please don't freak out. This is a bit complex here. But here you can see we have the driver license, and that is connected to account. Don't worry about the rest of it. We're just looking at this bit down here. So we need to fetch that driver's license, and we can do that just again with the Nanoflow. The one we want specifically is called drivers. DS get user driver license. This doesn't need any parameters. It's just getting the current user's account, and we're filtering the driver's license connected to that because it's a one-to-many association. So you'll see down here, if they don't have anything connected, we create it for them. So there's not just one thing we need to validate here. We need to validate one, that they have a validated driver's license, but two, if it's not validated, have they even uploaded something? And if that's the case, if they haven't uploaded it, we need to take them to the page to upload it. So we're going to just be using exclusive splits, very powerful tool that's been there forever. And this is just going to be valid license check. Now on the driver's license, we have a valid Boolean, or verified. Now you don't have to say equals true or anything. Using a Boolean variable is in itself a true and false declaration. So if they have a valid license, that's great. We can let them continue. The flow will continue as normal. But if they don't have a valid license, we need to check, okay, do they have any license uploaded at all? Call this one uploaded. So the same entity again, driver's license, but this time we're going to use a Boolean called has contents. Now all file documents and all image entities, they all have this has contents attribute. And essentially, if this entity has anything stored in it, that has contents is going to be true. And that's a very good way to validate on that. So if it has contents, we need to just show a message. But if it hasn't got any contents, meaning has contents equals false, we want to take them to a page where they can upload their driver's license. In the Project Explorer here, you'll see driver's license, upload or verify, and that's inside chapter 2. And we can just drag that on. Beautiful. Now, the uploaded section is a little bit simpler. If they haven't uploaded, if they have uploaded, we're just going to show a little message and tell them, hey, please hold on until we've verified this. It's a manual process at the moment. So here we just want to show a message. And I've prepared something up here just to save some time. So if they've uploaded it, we just tell them, hey, it's not verified by our team. We will notify you as soon as you are able to book a ride. So that's the validation done. We do just need to make sure no one else double books this vehicle here, because now it is about to be reserved. And we can do that on this down here. Sorry, let's push this along. We can bring that back and zoom in slightly. Here we're changing vehicles, and what we need to change is that available flag. So we're setting available to false now. So this is now going to no longer show up on other users' devices as something they can rent. We push that to the server with the Synchronize action, just so that the current data is there for everyone to access and everyone has an up-to-date copy. All right, I think that's most of the reservation. Oh wait, no, we do need to build out the navigation to the vehicle itself. So if we come to the reserve ride page, it is titled Get to Your Ride. And basically we're telling them stand next to it before you can carry on. If they're not nearby it, they can navigate to it. And we do this using those lat and long coordinates that we already have for the cars. If we go into navigate to the button, it's connected to ACT navigate to vehicle. And I'll just zoom in slightly for you guys. Now, to get this navigation set up, we need to take those lat and long coordinates and we need to convert them into a basically a street address. But this is purely because the navigate to JavaScript action expects it as an address. Now, this function does require an API key. In this case, I'm using Google as a provider. You can get the API key from the Cloud Console. But essentially, this allows the function to work. So you do need to set it up if you want. You can find more about that in the links at the end of the PowerPoint. Now, everyone's probably going to say, why is this not an application constant? That is because application constants are actually, in order to use them in a native mobile application, they have to be exposed to the server and exposed to the client, sorry. And personally, I think that's a bit unsecure. And so I find this way a bit better because this is protected by user rights. No one will be able to access this and it won't be able to be found out by anyone out there. So we just take this key. We're going to pop it into the JavaScript action. The action we're calling is reverse geocode, and that is from NanoFlow Commons. And here we just need to configure these dropdowns. So the latitude is, as always, the vehicle latitude. The issue here, though, is that this expects a string, but our latitude is a decimal, which we needed for that maps widget. So very easy, we can just cut that out and we can toString this. That's going to change the data type. And it's going to change that into something that the function can work with. Now, just copy this and paste it in here into the longitude. And we're just going to change this attribute to longitude. Down below, you have to select a geocoding provider. As I just said, we're using Google in this situation. Check out the Google Cloud Console for how to enable this on your account. And then you have to provide it the API key, which Google has recommended. And the variable name we use here is a location string. You can call it anything you want. And now we take this string and we put it into a new action. And that one is just aptly named navigate to. And this one's much easier to set up. You just pass it that string, give it a name, and that will take care of the maps. All right, so now they can verify that they're allowed to drive and they can actually get to the car.
Fantastic. Really good. That's 2 down.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in this user experience, of course, people will now navigate to the car. And the question is, what happens when they get to the car? Now, we want to make sure that they take pictures of the car to make sure that they can see the current state, if it's damaged or not, so that should something happen afterwards, you can verify what the state was before that situation. So I think, letting people take pictures would be very handy. And sort of like inspecting the vehicle.
Yeah, that's definitely a must. We can't just let people take the cars and then we get them back destroyed. So just close this up and we can build out that inspection process.
That would be a terrible business model. Like, here's a car, have fun.
Yeah. Just bring it back in one piece. Okay, so here we're going to start the check-in process on this button that says I'm here for check-in. So we go to ACT start inspection, which is a NanoFlow connected to this. And this is nothing shocking, I think. We're just getting the vehicle off of that parameter and passing it into the page. Now everything's going to take place in this page. Make that bigger for you guys. There we go. So here on the inspection page, we have just some details of the vehicle, the make, model, year of registration. And then we also have the images connected to that vehicle. Excuse me. This is a list view. It's going horizontally, just to save space on the page. And this is for the user to compare with what the current state of the vehicle is. So we ask them to take a photo of each side of the vehicle, meaning going around the car and just capturing each side. Those are also displayed in a list view over here. We'll touch on that in a bit. But first, let's give them the ability to take these photos. So down here, we have a little camera button. Go in there. This is take inspection image, ACT take inspection image. Now, if you've watched any live builds, you know I love this camera feature, this take picture action. So of course, I'm going to use it again. So here, we're just going to insert an activity, and we're going to take a picture. You can use advanced if you want. For this situation, just use the regular one. And as always, we just need to configure these drop downs here. So the image it expects is our inspection image. Can set that there. The picture source. In this scenario, we want them to have to take a photo. We don't want them to upload something. They might have taken a photo of a similar car or something, and they're using it to cheat the system. So we're going to force them to use the camera. For quality, we're going to set it to the original. And for width, max width and height, we can just set them empty. It will take the default sizing of your picture. Call this picture taken. Cool. So we have our picture. Commit that away into the database. But back on the page, we have this little counter over here, and we use this for validation when they try and move forward. So we need to make sure that they have at least four photos uploaded. If we go back here, you can see that after we commit that data, I'm then bringing back the full list of inspection images. Now, this list should include this one, and that should give us an accurate count. And we can get that number just with a list operation. So we're going to use a aggregate list function. And we are going to use our inspection images, and we want to count them. Now, this is going to give us an integer value, and we can just set this directly onto the inspection. So just the change activity. And we are going to change the inspection, and we're going to set the count to be the count. Nice and easy. Okay, so that is going to make sure that we have uploaded everything, or it's at least going to count them. And then when we head here into this flow, we're going to check that they have 4 there. But I told you we're going to touch on this list view. And that's because I just wanted to look consistent with the other one. So up here, this list view, you can see is horizontal. This one over here is vertical. So we're going to change this. Let me open up the properties so it's easy to see. In the general tab on properties, also in the properties window, you will see that the scroll direction is vertical. We want that horizontal. So that's going to give us a nice side-to-side activity. But this one actually has, the top one has some styling classes added onto it. So I'm going to use the same classes, and we're just going to go into VS Code here. And you'll see this is the entire custom coding, custom styling that I've done for this application. Just some imports up top. We have a few classes. And then we have these 2 down here, and these are the 2 that we need. So copy the class name. It's always export constant class name in native mobile. So just copy, go back to Studio Pro. The homepage vehicle goes on the image itself. So we can paste that there. Oh, copied the wrong thing. Sorry. Go back. Copy that one. And then also we have this container outside, and that's using vehicle border. This one I'll just take from here. And that's going to put a little red border around it, just to fit with the style. So that's going to make the list view look pretty consistent, and it's going to make it a bit more cleaner because we don't have a big vertical space. We can just scroll sideways now. All right, that should be everything we need for the inspection. What do you think we should do next, Jan?
Yeah, excellent. So we at least now know that people, what kind of car they're taking and what the state is of the car when they get to it. Now, before they can drive away, though, I want to make sure that they sign and accept an agreement for liability and so on. So is that something you can build, letting people sign something and then generating a PDF out of that and viewing that?
Yeah, of course. So for this, I found some really great marketplace downloads. So we're using two to accomplish this. The first one we're going to use is the native signature widgets from IT Visors. And basically this allows the user to sign, capture a signature on the device. And that's saved as a string value, base64 string. And then we're going to combine that with also another IT Visors module. Thanks guys, great stuff. But we're going to use the native document viewer module. And that's going to allow us to open this PDF that we're generating on the device itself in the device's document viewer of choice. So we need to do that on this proceed button. We've completed the inspection. We've validated they've got them all uploaded. And then we can go to the rental agreement page. Now, as this is just a proof of concept app, I haven't gone through the effort of creating a legally binding document. I've just used lorem ipsum. So I am agreeing to the terms of lorem ipsum here in my contract. But this is the rental agreement page. And this is where you can put all your agreements and fine print, basically. Then at the bottom here, we have a block for the signature. I'm just going to go into the domain model again, just so you can see. So you can see here, we have a signature widget down at the bottom left, and that is of type image, but it also have a attribute of base64 string. You'll notice it's one-to-many. That's again just because of native mobile's architecture. You have to do that. And in this data source, I'm just getting the first one connected, or getting the whole list, and then taking the head because there's only ever going to be one in this. If nothing's found, we create it, and if it does exist, we return it. So we need to add this signature widget now. So if I add a widget from here and just search for signature, we want this one. Now, this just has a few configuration things to do. We're just going to give it that string that it so desperately needs, this base64 string. It has on submit and on empty actions. So here we're going to call a nanoflow when they submit it. Alternatively, you can just save things using a save action or something like that. I like to handle things in a nanoflow, gives you more control. So here we want save signature, ACT save signature. And then we're going to connect another one, also an nanoflow, to the cancel button. There's more options here. You can set captions for the buttons. You can set colors again for the buttons, appearance, etc. So if you're curious, download the project, check it out, go through everything, or go to the marketplace and download the widget. So that is going to allow them to sign it. They can then carry on to the next step. Let's go check that out. That's down here at complete agreement. And if we go into this nanoflow, you'll see here we have basically what looks like a simple flow, but we're going to call a microflow, which is quite complex here. So this implementation that I've done is basically taking the data from the device, sends it to the server, the PDF is generated there on the server, and then we synchronize it back. In order for that to work, we need to make sure that all the data has been retrieved and all the data has been committed. So I handle that here in the subflow. If I go in, you'll see I just get everything that we've used up until this point, get it all, and then I make sure that it's all committed into the database. Push that into the server with a sync action, and then we can call our microflow, and we can be safe in the knowledge that everything is there on the server. So here we're going to add a microflow call. Now, because we're calling a microflow from a nanoflow, there are some restrictions around how we pass data back and forth. Persistent objects have some issues, or let's not say issues, have some limitations. And that is purely because of the synchronization between the two objects. You can't trust that it's always going to be there. And that's why you have to go through the steps to make sure it's all committed. But we are going to be using this chapter 4 user rental agreement. It's in flows. We have a microflow called subcreate rental agreement. Now, instead of passing the entire object, I'm just passing an ID field. And that we use to just do an XPath retrieve on the other side. So here we can just provide it that rental agreement, and we have a agreement rental ID, and that is what we're going to use to fetch the data on the other side. I'm just going to go into that microflow, and you'll see. So here you can see our parameter, our rental ID. We use that to get the actual object with the XPath retrieve over here. And then we go and fetch everything again, same as we did before, until we get to the signature, and now we have some work to do. So the signature widget captures the signature as a base64 string, which is an encoded string. But it doesn't just capture that as it is. It appends some important text to the beginning of that. It's for the function of the widget to work, but for us trying to decrypt it, we need to get rid of that stuff. So for that, I use a replace first action. Now, if we take that from the comment or the annotation, we can just paste it into this variable, and then I'll explain it. So this is quite simply, it's going through the signature string base64, and it's looking for this exact little thing here up until the comma, which is just some tags which the system is using to identify what this is. Now, if we try and decrypt this with this int, it's going to break, the Java action is going to throw an error. So we replace this with just nothing. This preserves the rest of the string while getting rid of that beginning part. Now we can take this string and we can put it into our Java action. So the one I'm going to use is called base64. Wait, first we have to. Teaching myself some stuff here. But yeah, we want a Java action over here. I didn't realize that the action I wanted was exposed as a microflow action. But that's the beauty of Mendix. So the one I want, which popped up before I actually found it manually, is just decode base64 decode to file. This expects the encoded string, which is our substring, and the file that we want to write the image to, which in this case is the signature. We're going to store it on the same object. We can call this decoded, and that's going to give us our image. Now we can actually call the PDF function or generate PDF. And we're going to do that just with a vanilla plain old Mendix PDF template. We can just call generate document. This is going to be a rental agreement document. The type will be PDF. And we need to select the template. I've got one made for us already. It's in resources. Don't judge my spelling. And the rest of everything gets pre-populated for us. Now, if I go in here, go to templates, right click, go to template. You'll see it's our fantastic lorem ipsum text again with the vehicle, some information there, and we have some images for your inspection, along with the signature embedded down here as an image. Final thing to do here, we commit that data, make sure it's saved, and then we push it back to the device. And for that, we use Synchronize to device. And this lets us push that single object back to the device. So generate the document, send it back to the phone, and then on the other side, we do another sync action. I don't know if this one is necessary. It's just my superstition, make sure it's there. But yeah, we sync again here. And then we show the completed vehicle, the leased or rented vehicle in the myride_native page. So we've generated the document, we've let them sign it. We just want to let them see it now as well. So on this page, it's going to look familiar. You're going to notice the images that we looked at earlier, along with the inspection images. Down here, we just have some extra options to unlock, start the vehicle, end the agreement, meaning I don't want this anymore, just leave it where it is. And then we have a button here to view the rental agreement. So here is where we're going to work. If we go inside, this is called ACT go to rental agreement. So here we need to make use of IT Advisor's module that we were speaking about earlier. So don't worry too much about all of this. I'm just getting the correct rental agreements, and I'm doing that with some list operations, looking where they overlap, and then I get the first one. That is what I want. Now, here at the end, we actually have to display this somehow. So we've got the data, we just need to show it. And for that, we have a sub meta flow, which is prepared for us in that marketplace module. We can just then search for sub, we're looking for a nano flow. And the nano flow we want is called document sub_view document. Now, you could just give this the name of something like success or viewed, whatever. And this is going to open that up. Going inside here, you can see this is not written by me. This is not my code, but you can see they've used a file path in combination with a JavaScript action to do that. So it's looking for the file path on your device, and it's going to open it with this view file action. And that should pretty much cover everything. Can you think of anything I've forgotten, Jan?
I think in terms of functionality and features, we're all good. So I think this finishes the app features. I do have one question though. How are you going to test this locally on your own device?
That's a very good question, Jan. So this module that has this nanoflow over here, the native file documents module, this is written for native mobile, meaning it's based upon JavaScript or React Native, actually. Now, those sometimes come with dependencies. In this case, the Make It Native app doesn't have the dependency set up for us to test this as we want. So we'll get up to this point, click the View Document button, and we'll get an error in the Make It Native app. So to actually test this locally on your own system, we just need to build a clone of the Make It Native app. Now, if you've built any native apps, you'll recognize the Build Native app app. It's an app. And what this is going to do is it's going to construct this for us. Now, previously, I'm not sure what actual version we made this change. I'm pretty sure it's somewhere in the version 9 range. But previously, up until then, you had to, if you were making use of these modules with dependencies or custom widgets or something like that, you would have to manage these dependencies yourself. Now we take a slightly different approach. the developer who creates that marketplace functionality, whether it's a widget or it's a module, they have to make sure that all the dependencies are set up for that module on their side. Then when we download it and we use it in our applications, the app builder will work in combination with their declarations and is going to automatically configure all the dependencies for us. So what that means is we don't have to worry about configuring JSON files or anything like that. We just come in and we say build app, and everything should be populated if you have it. Build type is complaining about that, but you'll recognize these splash screens, app icon, if you want any fonts. For details, these are just what the app already uses. But the app capabilities here, you'll notice that we have some stuff going on there, as well as permissions. Now, to build it for distribution, for like the Play Store, you're going to need certificates. Those you can manage here. But for local development, you don't really need to do anything. You'll just need to wait for these to finish and then scan the QR code, which you can see at the top here. This takes a while, so I'm not going to actually wait for it to finish. But yeah, that's how you will test it locally. If anyone has trouble with that, please let me know. I can send them my version.
Excellent. I think this looks really good from start to finish. If you have any questions about this live build, make sure you put them in the chat so we can talk about it. And before we go to the Q&A, I just want to do a little recap here. So Ryan, what are the most important things that you've covered today?
So firstly, we did the maps and bottom sheet widget on the homepage, and that is so that we can have a cleaner user interface. We don't have to worry about bombarding the users with too much information. Then we allowed them to navigate to the address using geocoding and the navigate to function. Once we have them there, they're allowed to check in, take photos of the vehicle, do the inspection, and most importantly, sign the contract on their device, which we can then let them view on their device as well. And then we wrapped it up with creating a Make It Native clone so that this app will work for everyone watching.
Fantastic. All right, so that's not all, because to make sure that you have everything you need to get started and to figure all of this out, we've got some resources here. So walk us through these, Ryan.
Yeah, so we firstly have some documentation, or not actually documentation pages. These are the marketplace links for the two widgets, or the one widget and the marketplace module I made use of. The documentation is on those links. So if you have any questions or anything about them, you can go and read up there about it. Then we have, oh, forgot to change the title here, sorry. This is actually the link to the Google Cloud Console. And this is where you're going to go find the geocoding backend API. If you go to this link, you can just follow the instructions and it will help you set that up. Lastly, we have how to create a custom developer app. This is the documentation page on how to create that Make It Native clone. This one is for Mendix 9 as well, specifically.
Nice, excellent. All right, well, this should definitely help people get started and play around with this. And of course, make sure you download the project files themselves so you can see all the other things that we didn't go through in this live build right now, but that have been added to the app. So you can explore all the settings, the configurations, and so on. And now it's time for the Q&A. If you have any questions for us, put them in a chat, and we'll see if we can answer them as best as we can. Now, someone actually sent me a message on Slack instead of on Twitch, and it was about the API key. And let's see if I can find the comment here. Let's see. So an API, an API key in a native, saving an API key in a native app in itself is insecure. So you can easily discover that. You'll have to obfuscate it. So I guess obfuscation is the key here. That's a great tip.
Sure what that is, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. No, but that's a good tip.
Yeah,
You know, any tip to make our app safer is definitely welcome here. And here about the base 64, another comment is about after encoding the base 64, you can empty the string, so that reduces the size of the sync, and otherwise you'll save the signature twice, basically.
Yeah, it is duplication of the data a little bit. Yeah, that's actually a very good idea, because you don't want that long string just sitting there. And that's why we have peer review in development. We have standards, and that these are just apps I'm building by myself. No one's checking them. That's the kind of thing we rely on testers to pick up.
Yeah. Now, to be clear, these comments came from the native mobile king himself, Marcel Groeneweg.
Oh,
so I wouldn't definitely not feel bad about this at all.
Yeah.
And I think these are very good tips. And I also know who's going to be our advisor on the next live build. That's for sure. All right. Well, I don't see any further questions in the chat. Oh, one literally just came in. Scratch that. Question here. Demo was great. Where do we find the source files? And I'll post the link again. So let's see. The link is bit.ly/nov21_live build. And here are the links to the other resources, the widgets, Cloud Console, and the documentation. So that should help you get started. And we'll, of course, also post this in the description on mendix.com/live when we're done, so you can research those as well and use them in your development. Great. I think the only thing that I want to ask of all of you is if you can let us know what you thought of this live build. So I put a link to a SurveyMonkey survey in the chat. Let us know what you think, what we can improve, or maybe you thought this was the best live build you've ever seen. I mean, I'm not ruling it out. I'm not ruling it out. Yeah, Ryan, thank you so much for building all of this out and showing us a great demo and a step-by-step guide here. For everyone else, if you have any topics or ideas or things that you want to see, things that you want to learn more about, be sure to let us know. You can always contact us on the Mendix community Slack and just send a DM to me or Ryan or both, and we can talk about it. Or maybe you want to do one yourself and you have a great idea for a project that you want to build out. Let's work together and make it happen. All right. Well, that's it. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm Jan de Vries, your low-code host, and we'll see you all in the next live build.
Bye, guys.